Welcome to PolyCast, a civilization podcast focused on game strategy.
Dan Q.
Makalua.
The Me and Team.
Mad Jin.
With guest co-host,
The Christie.
Yes, if you were not brought up on PolyCast, then clearly your childhood was deprived. But
As all of ours were.
Hey folks, and welcome to episode 199. So close, so close. I'm Christy, and as per usual, I'm joined by the regulars, Mad Jin.
Who loves you, and who do you love?
The Me and Team.
Oh, ho, 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 ho.
Dan Q.
if someone asks you a question, tell them you'll spear them and answer.
And I'm not sure she's caffeinated enough yet, but Mackie.
No, but I'm thinking maybe Dan needs to be breakfast for somebody after that joke.
Mackie wants to eat me.
I do not. We're lucky the dingoes didn't get you while you were in Australia.
How do we know they didn't?
They've replaced me with a dingo.
Yeah. They got his
Well,
voice.
Wait, so you're saying no difference?
Kate went and asked people for questions on the forums, and then she went and worked with some people to come up with the list. Will there be great people in Beyond Earth?
A yes or no question.
Oh, and so easy to troll. Will there be great people? Yes, the person we're putting in charge of the colonization mission was a great person.
Uh-huh.
Wah, wah. Could you advise what the starting advantage is of one of the already revealed factions? I will tell you, the starting advantage is they got off Earth. So we've heard that the culture system is based on virtues. Is that much like the policy trees in Civ 5?
Oh.
I think you guys are failing Dan's poll choice.
Yeah.
Either that or Kate, the mods specifically went for questions that were just yes or no.
Yep.
And all the ones that are asked. This is just, oh, man.
Getting there. Jeez, I've been gone for a month and you held on to feedback for me?
Well,
It was
No,
specifically
we covered
addressed to you.
some, but
well, yeah. See, this comment comes from the 21st of April, although it was in response to an episode that was published on the 8th of March, so...
It's already been delayed anyway, so, a few more weeks ain't gonna hurt it.
Django76 over on CFC went and said that he's a bit behind with his episodes, obviously, since he's replying to this one many weeks later. He says, discussion of whether to move your starting settler contained a germ of a great idea, but I don't think it really unraveled it to its full brilliance. So this is in response to episode 194, where we talked about the devs of Firaxis and moving the settler or not. Common problem is that there's nothing beyond DD in terms of difficulty in lots of players, perhaps most judging by the forums, which is kind of askew all its own, regularly play and win on DD. So how to increase the challenge? Lots of artificial ways, obviously, restricting yourself to playing without doing X, Y, or Z, but our discussion made him think of an elegant and nicely created way. Very simply, DD plus N consists of a DD game where you wait to do nothing until turn N, before either settling in place or starting to move your settler or warrior to find a better location. Wasn't sure if this was a good choice for N, so we started with N equals 10. Took him 3 attempts, so that's a downside. The method may be a bit fiddly. Apparently you get whacked by a barb. Second time, Rome went and forward settled on him, so he couldn't really do anything anyways. He thinks between 3 and 5 turns of waiting is possible without being too impossible. He just wants to point out that this whole exercise really makes you appreciate how powerful the snowball effect really is. It is only a few turns, but a few turns makes a huge difference. Now, if you want to see this in action, actually, I finally got around to the second part of the DDLP America 2. And I do show off running around with the settler before settling.
from Slow. Could you guys please discuss the advantages of having a city on the shore versus inland? Everyone seems to want their cities on the ocean, and I don't fully understand why. I understand that a city on the shore will allow you to have sea trade routes. That is huge. I also understand that they will allow you to build a navy. Build a navy. Other than that, I'm lost as to why these cities are so valuable. Inland cities provide land tiles that produce more than the sea tiles. And he goes on to say that he knows that the sea tiles can have resources, but land can too, and to make that a wash. Also pointing out that land tiles can be improved by workers and great people. And so Slow says that other than sea trade, which he grants to ocean cities, other than that, he does not understand the value and desire for ocean cities. Please explain. Naval superiority. Plus, the trade thing is a bit more front-loaded.
A multiple of 2. It's not really front-loaded because you get way more later, but at least on the science side.
Well, I mean, like, how much do you have to invest in the city before that's pretty solid compared to, say, building improvements everywhere?
You can build improvements everywhere, really. Still, it's a case of whether you can work them all or not.
Well, yeah.
I guess early on in the coastal city, you can still probably use a few improvements on land and at least get a decent amount of food from the sea once you get a lighthouse up and running.
Well, okay, if you've stolen workers, maybe, but normally you wouldn't want to have too many more improvements than you have population working tiles on the global level.
Exactly.
But I guess maybe if you settle the city later, but...
Yeah, no, for those people whining about it, you need as many improvements on land as you have population, +1, give or take.
Yeah, it's hard to do it perfectly, but yes, that's the ideal.
Yeah, well, the front loading on the city, that, with respect to, all you have to do is build a lighthouse in your city or buy it versus taking X number of turns to go improve tiles with a worker. Yes, definitely all those sea resources, provided you have them. Obviously, if you don't have them, then there's no point in being there, or less of a point anyways. So if you have them, then yes, they front load the ability to go. Though the stupid workboat is really, really, really annoying for the one shot, so it kind of balances itself out later, and you can't steal those. But I think even if you do settle on the ocean, you don't want a huge ocean city, at least for your initial couple, because he gets into it about great people. And yes, obviously great people improvements need land. And therefore, even if you are on the ocean, you still want land so you can drop great people improvements down.
Wait, are you saying that 20 ocean tiles isn't ideal?
No, it's not ideal.
There's being on the ocean and then there's being on ocean.
Tell that to the who settles the one-tile islands.
Well, no, we're talking about the initial couple cities.
With the AI bonuses, it makes sense for them to do that. It makes sense for them to settle almost anywhere.
Later game, it doesn't really matter because the city that you drop in the middle of nowhere isn't really going to affect your empire that much. But for the important cities anyways, and you have to be obviously next to the ocean, you can't go and drop yourself 2 land tiles away from the ocean and still expect to actually do stuff.
Well, unless you then settle a second city and it's on the ocean, and then you can get unit out. Like it's got a resource on the coast, right? And then you settle one way, or the AI settles one way. And then you settle another city that's on the ocean, and now you can have, say, a workboat go and improve that. But still, why would you do that anyway? Yeah. That's clearly a misclick.
Well,
or you didn't explore enough.
Rarely ever do you want to settle one tile in unless it's like super defensive or you're going to get a mountain out of it and it's like not a terribly important city to need coastal access or something.
Yeah, because he says having a city settle on the shore versus inland, and then he talks about oceans later. Well, sometimes you could be on a lake or on an ocean that goes nowhere, and then maybe it is more desirable in that case not to settle, particularly if there are no resources that you can improve in that body of water. But then it also depends on what other kind of terrain is around you, because you could still be working those ocean tiles or lake tiles for some food, and if you've got tundra around you and desert and no real other source of water, then
you shouldn't have went there in the first place.
Build boats. Just fill the lake with boats. Nothing but boats.
If all you have is ocean, tundra, and desert and nothing else, you should not have been there.
It all depends on the map type, really, especially if you're going to have a map that has a decent connection of water, like even a small continent or an archipelago. It's handy to have cities on the coast, especially if you're going to be taking exploration, because +3 production.
Play a map that strips all resources. There are no resources anywhere on the map.
Or better than that, there are resources, but you can't work them.
Fish blocked by peaks and crap.
It's better in Civ 5 than it was in Civ 4, but it still happens. And I guess I'm talking more about certain natural wonders rather than...
Yeah. If you happen to be on a map that's not completely land-based, then that extra production and other such things can be worthwhile.
I don't think he's presenting this question from the framework of an archipelago map, though, because that's...
No. Even a
continents
map,
yeah.
Or even a Pangea, depending on where you are.
Yep.
Or your Civ.
Yep.
Oh, we really haven't talked about the most important advantage for having a city on the shore versus inland.
Fish?
The I'm on a boat achievement.
Yeah.
Clearly, that's the obvious answer.
Flo also wanted to know, how many wars do you start per game? I am normally a peaceful player, going to war once or twice per game, mainly at the end when an AI is between me and victory. I've recently upped my skill level and I'm finding it very difficult to win now. I'm thinking that I am playing too passive, so I was wondering, other than the madman who fights with everyone in every moment, how many wars on average, knowing every game presents its own opportunities, do you start per game? Is it a major part of your strategy or just something you do when you have to do it?
Declare war and stay at war until they die. If there are 8 AIs, there are 8 wars.
Well,
I'm kidding.
It also depends on who it is next to you.
And like how many wars you declare, when you take, or as I like to call it, liberate a city-state worker, that technically is a war that you start. Mm-hmm. So the clock...
So Dan always wars because he always bullies the city-states, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're going to give you gold, then you obviously bully them for the gold first, and then declare war and take their worker. That's just double win in one turn.
Exactly.
It will speed you up a lot, so yes.
And then the other part is, and Mackie also said, it depends who you're beside. It also depends what type of victory you think you're going for. It also depends on, well, how many wars do you start versus how many wars are you involved with, period, because you could get declared on as well. And when he says, is it a major part of your strategy or just something you do when you have to do it? Well, if you want to go for a domination victory...
You're going to have to do it.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have to do it. So, starting wars, is it a major part of your strategy or just something you have to do when you do it? Are you a warmonger? Then yes. Are you not? Then no.
And yes.
I love how he phrased this question. It's a nice, simple answer. And we can go on, yes?
Yes and yes.
Although there are some times when you might have to declare war in order to stop someone advancing, such as declare on another warmonger to counteract his push, or declare on the person who going crazy with tourism to stop them from winning. I suppose that does also fall in on the something you have to do when you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Declare on a human player to jack their forward settler.
I was about to actually mention that. That's called proactive war, because by declaring war on a civ to get an unescorted settler, or at least a poorly protected settler before they settle, you're actually saving lives, because that prevents you from then having to take them later when they have a city and there's lots and lots of population. So you're actually doing everyone a favor in the world. You are a humanitarian.
Mm-hmm.
Killing one person to save millions.
Yeah.
Well, I'm assuming the settler has a few hundred people, but it's like a few hundred abstracted, whatever that unit represents, versus hundreds of thousands or even millions. So, yeah.
You're forgetting the cow.
Don't forget the cow.
That one cow.
They're not a person.
Oh,
man. Speaking of attacking, Slow's third email is asking about whether we have a rule of thumb as to what weapons you need to attack what city strength. Meaning, from his own experience, he knows that archers are only good until the city's defense reaches about 20, and after that, they're basically cannon fodder and useless. Do we happen to know when other ranged units become useless at what city strength? Thanks. Well, if anything, from our experiences in Turncast, we know that when cities get to like 70 defense, you pretty much need artillery.
I was about to say, I don't know if that's a very good preface.
Pretty bad preface.
Aw.
Generally, 2-to-1? The ranged unit's combat strength can be about half that of the city. Still be okay.
Give or take. I mean, it also depends on how many of these units you have, how many you're able to attack a city on one turn, what kind of defensive bonuses you're able to give those units on, for the turns in between. Well, it also depends on the promotion of your units.
Well, I rolled that into the range strength.
Yep.
All the promotions, everything else. Also keeping in mind that the moment you get range, so 3 range on an archer unit, you no longer care what the city strength is.
Longbows!
Beat you!
Although it can still be really slow to try and wear one down if you're behind.
Yeah, but you're not going to lose. So at some point, the city will just produce a unit that will walk over and attack your 3-range archer.
Death by paper cut. Or like death by 4 frigates at 3 range, both with all the logistics attacking like an 80-90 strength city. You'll get it in about 10 turns.
So at some point, especially Gatling guns and above, tend not to use ranged, i.e. Gatling guns and machine guns.
Unless you've promoted them and they already have range, then they're alright.
But then they're only range 2.
Yeah, you'll be attacked by the city, but at least at that stage of the game, you'll be a lot more comparable because the problems with Archer
you're going to be way behind at that point because it'll be 30 versus 70.
You're close enough. Just use planes.
Well, that too.
Or
planes and artillery.
Or battleships.
Artillery.
Crossbows is pretty much the last archer unit.
Yeah, crossbows for attacking cities with in terms of ranged units. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Otherwise, you should start using cannon, artillery, and stuff. Melee units, it's about 1.75 times the combat strength of the unit, give or take. It's not quite 2, a little less, unless you get siege, and then you're doing better.
You can also help your chances because, of course, melee units can fortify, so
yep.
That improves your odds to prevent the counterattack.
And it also depends on volume, obviously. The more units you have, the more damage is spread out over multiple units, the longer you have to fight. Obvious.
Speaking of obvious, I think that applies well to the next question, because after I read it, I was like, oh, yeah, good point. Email from Matt says, hi again. First, I'd like to thank you for responding to my previous email concerning the spy mechanics in multiplayer in episode 193. Well, you're welcome. In episode 198, you talked about Mega Bear's fan guide on the Shoshone, and while you mentioned the native tongue promotion, it seemed to me that you did not discuss in much detail the most important aspect of that promotion, namely what to pick. And Mega Bear's fan does not really go into that discussion either. I understand that given the nature of the game, the right choice depends highly on the given circumstances, but it still seems to me that some options are inherently more powerful than others. Knowing where the barb camps are might be nice, but +1 pop has to be better, right? So I would like to ask you, panel, to discuss 2 things. What do you think are the more powerful and better options to choose from ancient ruins, all else being equal? And what options should one take in which circumstances, and when to avoid certain options? It is quite obvious that taking a new technology when you're just 2 turns away from pottery, for example, might not be a good idea, since if you happen to get pottery, then you've basically wasted the ruins. But I am sure that there are similar considerations for other options, thanks in advance. I would say as an aside, I wouldn't say you've basically wasted the ruins. 2 turns is 2 turns. But when it comes to, from the native tongue promotion, just to backtrack a little bit, as a Shoshone, you enter an ancient ruin, and with the Shoshone, unlike any other Civ and Civ 5, you get to choose which bonus you're going to get, although there's a little asterisk beside that. But when it's the first ruin that you go into, you're not going to be able to get the Faith one. You got to wait about 20 turns till that becomes an option. Unless, of course, this happens to be the first ancient ruin you come across, and it's that long into the game, in which case I don't think you've been exploring enough. Anyway, your initial choices are convince the remaining population to join one of your cities, so the +1 that Matt mentions. Use this contact with the Lost Tribe to enhance your culture. That scale with game speed. Use information from the tribe to locate nearby barbarian camps. Yeah, I managed to say that without sounding one way or the other. Trade with the Lost Tribe for gold. It's not an absolute number. There is variation there. Have a look at their maps. I'm trying not to editorialize yet. Study their tools to discover a new technology, and use equipment around the tribe to upgrade your unit. Well, it is true, and we talked about it on the last episode, on the very last point, when you upgrade your Pathfinder, boom, it is not an archer. It is a composite bowman. When he says all things being equal, that is really difficult. I would say that if you're on the first turn of a technology, certainly go for the tech. Tech is king, but that's a pretty rare circumstance. I think you're generally speaking better off to go with population or culture.
Depends.
Yeah, the earlier it is, the more I would say population, because that's the snowball effect in action.
Well, no.
Well?
The time it takes to get from Pop 1 to Pop 2 is really, really quick, even early in the game.
Yeah, but usually by the time I find one, I'm hovering around 3 or 4.
Yeah,
so.
Well, that's the point. If you're above Pop 3, then definitely pop as much as you can, because it's going to take forever to grow. Tech-wise, in his situation where he's 2 turns from pottery, if that's his first rune, it's turn 8. Well, yeah.
You might want to wait 2 turns and then pop the ruin?
Well, or take something else if you know that there's another rune close by that you will get. Because you got to remember, you can't take the same choice twice in a row. So you do have to wait a couple choices before you get it back. Part of that being not that you're potentially going to waste it on 2 turns worth of pottery to finish, but because as soon as you open up pottery, that opens up 3 other techs that are much more expensive than mining or animal husbandry that you can get. It's always worth waiting till after pottery before taking the tech.
Like you were saying, turn 8 to 10. If you've already gone your monument, you might want to take the culture so you can get your first social policy incredibly quick.
Yes, there's that too, as well. Gold,
That's middle of the road.
Yeah, it's kind of, if you've already taken your pop, your tech, and your culture, and or faith, depending if you're going that way, then I guess gold is not a bad option, because you could get some sufficiently decent amount out of it to pay off buying something early in the game.
Honestly, I'd actually take the upgrade before the gold, simply because, no terrain penalty composite boats, especially if you can keep them going through. And if you can get enough ruins that you can upgrade multiple Pathfinders. Oh,
well,
God.
Depends on your strategy. Or if you're going for early game combat rush, sure. If you're not planning on getting into a fight till at least crossbows, then...
Even then, it's handy to have those no-terrain composite bows even for defense against incoming barbs.
Oh, it's handy. And definitely worth picking at least once, but But the thing is, I also find, at least on standard speed and on deity, that building more than one Pathfinder becomes prohibitively expensive. You're only going to get a handful of ruins normally.
3 or 4, probably. It depends on how you scout, obviously, again, how you scout lay of the land, all that fun stuff. You may not even get the chance to get so many ruins that you get to take your first choice again.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of when you get a chance, even if you think you're not going to try for a religion, why? I'll save it for later. A Pantheon is good.
Pantheons are helpful, yes.
Yeah, one free Pantheon. Depending on when you get it, too. If no one's taken a Pantheon and you get the free faith, then it's guaranteed Pantheon.
Having a Pantheon is never bad. You can never get bad things from having a Pantheon.
It's true that if you don't have your own religion, or even if you do, your religion gets overrun by another one and goes away your Pantheon, well, that's going to be X number of turns down the road, so you might as well take advantage of a Pantheon while you can have it at least.
Yep, it is a bonus while you have it, until it gets replaced with a different bonus.
And then, when we're comparing, have a look at their maps versus use information from the tribe to locate nearby barbarian camps. All things being equal, which one is less crap?
The maps are less crap, honestly.
Yeah, the maps are less crap because you might get shown Skildorado.
Yep, you reveal something.
Although 9 times out of 10, the map you get given is this nice picture of water.
It's true, but then at least you know where the water is, and so then it's like, oh, well, why don't I just move my unit away from going in that direction, because the Pathfinder's not going to be able to walk on water. I mean, not without a mod, anyway.
Well, let's not settle that way, because there's a load of water, and there's possibly a city-state taking up that spot.
Yeah, map knowledge is good knowledge. If you went honor, then the map's still better than the barb camps, because you'll get told about
the barb camps anyway.
Yeah, you'll get told about the barb camps anyways the moment you pop open the log via the map.
And why is it that as soon as Magin said it, if you went honor, I instantly had Phil in my head saying, nothing but honor. Ah.
Yeah, obviously. I don't know why you would take anything else, ever.
Though Pathfinder's not annoying. But as for units that are annoying, there's another thread regarding annoying units. Spontaneous One created this thread saying, this thread is about what units and circumstances have nearly driven you up the wall while playing Civ. So to start it off, described a situation that you decided you need to stop the cultural wonder spamming of Ethiopia. When it's all going well, rush to dynamite, getting artillery, finishing off the second city, hoping to get away with this before those darn Mahal Safaris come out. And sure enough, comes to the capital, and there's about 3 of them sitting right there, right in front of the capital, and as he calls them, Grim Reapers themselves. Yeah.
Nope, Doc's got it right. It's all about Stampy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God.
Ah, yes, the Nesurian elephant. Yes.
There are a fair few other examples that people have been posting up in the thread, such as Viva Mexico saying the hand axes, simply because they are quite strong at that point in time. Impy Swarms by Danaphanus. Lucifer saying he doesn't like pikes, because they're stronger than swordsmen and on a worse tech path. And, well, there's just a load of options here. What do you guys think?
I would put Impy at the top of my list, followed by, as Magin has affectionately labeled them, Stampies.
Stampy!
That's with the Impy and the AI. Oh my gosh, how many Impies do you need to troll me? A lot, apparently.
They are so easy to build.
And so cheap to maintain.
You don't need to maintain them, you just push them in a line. What's Fortify? Just keep going.
Especially with all the unique promotions
That's my city, that's my city, that's my city, that's also my city.
if you can't take the Zulu out or do significant damage before they get impy, then push yourself ahead so that you have technological superiority. Because, oh my gosh, even with technological superiority, with their sheer numbers and the promotions, and again, as was mentioned about, there's going to be so many of them because of the lower maintenance costs, and if you're dealing with AI, they get these things that we affectionately refer to as derp bonuses, so they will have even more of them than a human player could yield, most likely. Chris, you mentioned like the barbarian hand axe that Viva Mexico had said. I don't consider them annoying. Well, I don't consider them any more annoying than any other barbarian unit, to be honest.
They're annoying just simply because, they have the range attack and they have the melee combat strengths to withstand some hits. It'd be different if it was, like a barb archer, has the decent range strength but has terrible melee combat. But the hand axe is 9/9. I mean, you don't get an equivalence like that until Gatling guns.
Yeah, well, too bad. These are good. The barbs need some power too.
The other weird thing is they upgrade to Wait, what, do they upgrade to horseman or no? Chariot art? No. What do they upgrade to?
Oh, chariot archers. Now there is another annoying unit for different reasons than either the Impy or the Stampies.
They're annoying early on, but they get useless because they upgrade to melee.
Well, they just get useless because there's composite bows.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Apparently, some people don't like the air units because if you don't have something to defend against them, they're evil.
Air units is basically zero sum. But once both sides have air units, they're basically equivalent. But if one side has and the other side doesn't, you're screwed.
Yep. That's nice that you went tanks and artillery to be more natural and historical, but I went flight. Screw you.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't even put any air unit on the annoying units list. Mostly, to me, that's more about if
game balance in general.
If you're on the receiving end of that, and it's a problem. That's the other thing. You're on the receiving end of it, and it's a problem. That's a wake-up call for you, as far as I'm concerned. Annoying is kind of...
Yeah, this is boring.
Plus the fact that air unit, it's also later enough in the game that the likelihood that it's going to be a problem for you consistently as compared to some of these other units, not so much. Pikeman discussion, we mentioned that. That was interesting. Of course, someone had to say Primicide, nuclear missile, 300 turns of city development. Bye-bye.
Yep.
It is annoying, but it's late enough that I would not call it
It's the best unit in the game. I don't know why people hate.
Actually, I'm not sure annoying is strong enough. It's a bit kind of screw over, but how can you let them get nukes?
Nuclear weapons are the ish in co-op-ish.
Oops.
Thanks,
Okay, well,
they're an-ish. They're not the-ish, but they're an an-ish.
No, I was just trying to get that barbarian next to your city.
There's also a fair few of swordsman replacements mentioned in this thread. Like, there's a couple of people who mentioned Mohawk warriors, and someone who also doesn't like Chris Swordsman.
Oh, yes. Well, the Chris Swordsman is more depressing than annoying.
They're gimmicky, and you need to find a punching bag before you actually use them.
True.
So you can't just send them straight to the front line. You have to send them to that barb camp you're farming to get your first promotion to figure out if it's worth keeping. And then send it to the front line or be like, you're useless, bye-bye.
On the defensive, I'd be more concerned seeing Mohawk warriors than I would see Chris Swordsman coming my way.
No iron and all that defense in forest and jungle. I should know, having gotten them 3 times in a row.
They just sit there.
4N, 4...
I think it's Anaconda with 4s instead of A's.
See if you can figure out what unit he's talking about based on the description. First, it seems I can never build them because of the endemic coal shortage in my games. Second, when I plan for a seafaring domination strategy, they are quite hard to deal with even with frigates. And even if you manage to capture it, refer to point 1. They also seem beast versus cities at this era.
Dun, 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 dun.
And you would never say this about the unit in Civ 4, but... Begins with an I.
Did it start with an I?
It starts with an I and ends with a D. Hello, Ironclad. How are you? I laughed when I saw someone mention the worker as a unit.
When the enemy sends it. You declared war on me. Worker spam.
Well, it was about...
Or when you're trying to move around in a city-state.
Even now, so many patches later, they sometimes wake up from whatever task they were doing for no apparent reason. They're skittish. The workers are just skittish. They are looking out for their best interests because they know what happened to workers in Civ 4.
Oh, God.
They're an extreme reaction to worker issues in Civ 4, I think.
They joined the Union.
Your automated worker moved adjacent to enemy borders again. Even though AI automated workers never did that.
I think Ghost Stew's comment, a good summary attached to this thread. Anything that survives a round with less than 10 hit points and then insta-heals back to kill one of your units. Everything else is fair game.
Oh, so many times.
Can't they just remove the insta-heal, please?
No, it's a good. You have to sacrifice the long-term viability of your unit to take the insta-heal.
If you've taken the insta-heal with your unit, it means it was pretty much going to die anyway, and it's going to die very soon, so it doesn't exactly have a long-term benefit.
No, it's high-end strategy.
Lol.
The insta-heal isn't as bad as it used to be when insta-heal was back to 100%.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, and this is a segue into the next topic, in this thread about annoying units, when Nasarog says, only 2, Great Prophet and Missionary, the rest don't bother me. Speaking of these units, next topic, is religion worth bothering with? Look at that. From Dunk On U1. I just got Brave New World, and before that, I only played through maybe 2 games of Gods and Kings, and yes, Gods and Kings being the first expansion pack for Civ 5, and Brave New World being the second. And in one of these games, I played the Celts. I noticed that a lot of pantheon, beliefs, religious buildings, etc. actually just give you more faith, which you could then use to enhance your religion, or buy something that will give you more faith. My point being, faith seems to be sort of a cyclical process of spending faith to gain faith, which has me questioning its value. The question is if the rewards from faith are worth the investment. Something like the Just War beliefs seem to be strong, but may look relatively quite weak, can be gained via other means. I do suppose faith is an efficient way to buy units, if nothing else. Looking to get the thoughts of those with more experience with the religion system on how worthy it is for both civs that have a religion focus and those who do not. And of course, there's a poll. Is religion's reward worth the investment? And always or almost always is currently winning. Is at about 67%, followed by only with religion-focused civs at a distant 9, hard to say at 8, and never or almost never in 4. For me, it comes down to what he talks about, is religion worthy for civs that have a religion focus and those who do not? For those who have a religious focus, how can I put this delicately? And for those who do not,
it's a pretty high absolute.
Almost always, I would say yes.
I wouldn't even say almost always.
I would.
I'd be like, if your neighbor builds one that's sufficiently okay, then whatever.
I mean, there are neighbors, and then there are neighbors. And then also it depends on what it is that you have, and it's like, how much can I benefit from someone else's religion as compared to what I could get myself? Yes. Is it then worth the investment to continue on to try to get a religion myself as compared to somebody else? But I would say it is definitely worth the investment, at least up to and including when you get the notification of a first religion being founded. You could be in a certain situation with such a narrow focus, and you absolutely feel you must get this belief in order for it to be beneficial. Then you might go, well, I want to find where this person is. I've got my religious infrastructure already, whatever it happens to be, religious buildings, pantheon, whatever. And then when I find them, I will work to hopefully get the religion to spread to me. But it is worth the investment. Even if for some reason your religion at some point gets run over by somebody else's, well, you've had that time where you've been able to use it for your benefit. And the religious system, from pantheon up through the beliefs, follower, and enhancer, even when some are taken by AI, there's almost always, maybe it's not the best option, it's not the ideal option, but it's still worthwhile an investment.
Religion is for money.
Tithes.
I don't know.
Tithes.
I don't know. According to some people, religion is for science.
Sometimes.
Little Miss Messenger.
The gods. I get both.
Always get Messenger of the gods.
Very rarely do I not get that, and it's usually because of desert folklore.
I think you got to also tie the question into, are you thinking of going down piety at all? Whether or not you think the religion is going to be worth bothering with. Because if you're like, I don't want anything in piety, then I think, I'm not even sure there's a proper option on this poll. What I'm thinking, like, almost or almost always, to me, is like 90% plus. And then never or almost never, and only with religion-focused civs are near the bottom. Like, there really isn't like a middle option. There isn't like a sum of the time.
This poll wouldn't hold up in a market research environment.
Yeah.
This is true.
frankly, piety doesn't matter with respect to religion if you're wanting to use it or not. You can go tradition or liberty and still make a religion. Yeah, you don't get reform. Yeah, you don't get some of the other benefits out of piety, but unless you're going hyper faith focus and reforming to something interesting, then you can get plenty out.
No, I still think it is an important consideration in your mind to decide, well, there's worth bothering with, and then there's also worth bothering with. Because it's like once you have it, then how much maintenance are you putting into it and trying to expand it further? And I think that's where the piety, for me, the consideration comes into play. But you're right, you don't have to go piety to make religion worthwhile, and you definitely don't have to choose a civ with a religious focus. That's just a situation where like religion is cake, and if you're a religious-focused civ, that's just icing.
Well, no, if you're a religious-focused civ and you don't go religion, you're doing something wrong.
AI Byzantines?
There is that. Byzantines, to me, would be the prime example, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, let's just totally waste part of their special ability.
I get a bonus belief. I didn't found a religion.
Wah, wah.
There's a 2K blog post actually about them creating the lore for Beyond Earth. I am glad to see that they went back to classic science fiction, because some of the new stuff is a little weird sometimes. And they're still not exactly telling us what the great mistake is, but we'll find out through story elements within the game. So after the game comes out, maybe we'll finally know. It's not too much detail, but at least you have an idea that they're actually thinking about it in the same way that Alpha Centauri also had its own story background going on for what was going on Earth and what was going on the planet. So, okay, they're still heading in the spiritual successor direction. Good call. Good job.
Yeah, there were a couple of comments on 2K forums and Civ Fanatics forums. One on the 2K forums, Shushu62, past regular co-host on the now-defunct Civcast, said, "Is it just a wee bit too nerdy to be concerned that the heirs apparent to Alpha Centauri Legacy did not list Frank Herbert when rattling off sci-fi writers?" No, because I know they've mentioned Dune. Sorry they didn't mention Mr. Herbert specifically.
Yeah, or what's the other... I cannot think of the title right now, but there is one that had a spaceship that went off, and it was a colony spaceship that had to stop at another planet. I cannot think of the title of those. Yeah, I'm going to go... Excuse me while I wiki that, because I feel like not being nerdy enough to not remember that.
There's a poster on Civ Fanatics that said that the great mistake was internet cat videos. Ariok, or I'm impressed.
Okay, now Shushu's actually referring to this, the Destination Void thing, because there's also some later ones that came out in the late 70s, early in the 80s. There's a world ship. I remember this because they have to stop on that planet to get big hexagon ice cube things to put on the front because that's their, like, collision shield. It's a big block of ice on the front. But hexagons, guys. Hexagons again.
Not surprising, considering...
I know, hexes and yes.
And hey, why is PC Gamer thinking that they have the best reviews?
I also like what Shushu said after buying Alpha Centauri. He was reading the manual and thinking, holy crap, other people read these same sci-fi books I read. Yeah, you went to look front. I read that. You guys.
Guys, somebody wrote a book and we all read it.
Hear the grin in Mackey's voice. Big spiritual successor to Alpha Centauri. People very, very, very excited, except for perhaps Mossington on CFC, where I agree completely with half of what he says, and then I completely disagree with the other half, which is a bizarre combination. The part I agree with, it's good that the developers are throwing a few things out there for us to mull over. However, there is not as much substance in this article as I would have liked to have seen. This article had potential to deliver a little glimpse into the quality we are hopefully going to see. Yes, I hope that there are future such updates.
Yeah, that was the one thing wrong about this post. It's still a little vague.
Very surface scratching, barely.
Yeah, this is all you get before lunch. Too bad.
That's months from now.
Enjoy the rancid scraps we throw at your face. And
Well, okay then, Dan. I don't think there's anything particularly rancid about that.
Was that a little dark?
Yeah.
But speaking of dark, Mossington also says, quote, "I have had doubts since watching the announcement that the two guys are a little too young and inexperienced to deliver a truly grand game on the scale some people are expecting. Hope I'm wrong, but I just see another Civ 5 base game all over again, saved by the introduction of Ed Beach with all his years' experience and trial and error." Wow. The two people he must be referring to, of course, are Will Miller and Anton Strenger.
You haven't seen them do a game yet, so give the guys a shot. Sheesh.
Actually, you have seen them do games, but not as the leads.
It's their first game as leads. Give them a chance to try. It's not like they're completely inexperienced. They didn't hire two noobs out of college.
And it's also not like these people got hired by a game developer and they're like, oh, Civ. Yeah, I guess we should learn something about that before we do something with it. They've been fans of the game before they ever got to this point. So I think if you have a combination of young energy combined with older experience, you've got that on the team. Both of those things complement each other well. And by the way, just because they are co-lead developers, it doesn't mean everything that they say goes.
No, it has to get past me first. And that is not
remembered,
true.
Imagine. When there's things that are wrong with the game, this will be remembered.
Yeah, that's right.
Why did you let them do that, Imagine? Why?
That's so not true. Not even close to true.
It's too late. You said it. You will be held to it.
Yeah, I've got to say, people are like trying to compare Beyond Earth to the colonization crap for Civ 4.
No.
Please do not compare this to colonization. Here's the exact reason why. Colonization for Civ 4 was a port of a game that was built in the 90s. All they did was copy the code over and clean it up to put it onto Civ 4. Beyond Earth, they are actually working on producing a game. Two different things.
Yes, and as reflected in the title for both, Civilization 4 Colonization and Civilization Beyond Earth. It's not Civilization 5 Beyond Earth. It wasn't Civilization Colonization.
Mm-hmm.
You're not comparing like things.
Yeah.
Stop it.
It is a separate standalone game in the Civilization series. It has nothing to do with the other stuff.
Speaking of looking at things, PC Gamer...
They mentioned a few new features in here, one of them being the affinity system, purity, supremacy, and harmony. I mean, obviously, supremacy is the way to go, and purity is lame, but, you have your choices there, depending on what you want to do. What else is here? I'm not sure what to focus on, because it's a 4-page article, and...
Siege worms?
Well, yes, there are siege worms, and you can capture them, and you can do different things with them, depending on where you want to go.
The Gaians all over again.
I don't know. Mindworm sounds cooler than Siege Worm, but maybe they'll have both. I will keep my hopes up.
I think the siege worms were supposed to be like those big worms from Dune.
They're just trying to keep the Electronic Arts lawyers at bay. That's all.
And they're going quite wild with the terrain, apparently. You can do a lot of stuff with that.
There are some nice terrain screenshots in here. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. But they said that you can, essentially make a Dune-like world if you want or something.
There's one of the screenshots, and you can see what the farms look like, and they're more broken up. They're actually a little bit hexy.
I hope they balance the starting dynamic, because they're saying some choices to make before you land here, and I just hope that is not a false choice, because that stuff looks interesting. Colonists, cargo, sponsor, and colony ships balance. But I hope there isn't, a one choice, because that would just be lame.
Of course there will be.
They pull it off.
Why wouldn't there be?
The best aspects of Civ don't have that. Come on.
Troll.
Work with me here. Work with me.
You still haven't talked about the best part of this article, though.
What do you think is the best part of the article, Dan?
The best part of the article is the inlet feature of what affinity are you? Because if you don't know, this quiz will help you.
Oh, I was supremacy.
Really?
Almost entirely.
Well, there's a surprise.
In which zone do you have the most points? You answer questions on the following. You see a dog. Do you pet it? Give the dog a battle suit or ride it?
Well, obviously, if you'll give it a battle suit.
I'm not sure riding a dog counts as harmonious. A doggy, I'm going to take you for a ride.
Well, it depends how big this dog is.
That's true, and how big you are.
When I took this, I kind of got mostly purity with a little bit of both harmony and supremacy, so I'm kind of still undecided.
I don't know, man. A robot arm would be really awesome.
Your arm is hurt. Do you bandage it, replace it with a robot arm, or grow a new arm with alien DNA? Well, to me, how hurt is your arm?
How hurt is your arm for wanting you to chop it off?
Is this a paper cut? Oh, time for a robot arm.
Robot arm. Woo!
Why wouldn't you just start with the robot arm? I don't understand.
Maybe this one's better. You're eating dinner. What is it? Is it steaks and eggs? Is it nutrient soylent or shrooms?
Shrooms.
I don't want any
Soylent
of them.
takes the least amount of time, letting you play the game longer. See?
Soylent Greens?
Yeah.
I don't want any of them. Who eats eggs with steak?
Lots of people.
Yeah.
See, I come from this weird country that doesn't do that stuff, so.
Steak and eggs is called breakfast.
Steak for breakfast? Really?
Yeah.
It's just sausages, it's just sausages and bacon over here.
No,
We do that
steak is
too.
24-hour
I'd never have steak for breakfast. God,
Weirdo.
you people are weird.
You're the weird one.
No, you are.
Sure.
We're all weird in each other's mind.
You
Nope,
see
just
an
in mine.
alien, kill it, study it, or adopt it. I mean, obviously killing it is just unnecessary and wasteful, whereas adopting it is dangerous, so you would study it. So therefore,
no.
the supremacy answer is the correct answer.
You can adopt it and study it.
And then you could adopt it, study it, and kill it.
Yeah.
Why do you have to make the choice?
If you're ill, you could have all these things: a common cold, post-human angst, and the xenoflu.
Oh, xenoflu.
Well, if you get the common cold, you're probably then more susceptible for the xenoflu.
I don't even know what post-human angst is.
Think
Maybe
of it
that's
as
why I'm
xenoflu.
experiencing it.
Mm.
It's the thing when you're still a normal human and everybody else is turning into these cyborg-type humans.
Yeah.
You're feeling a little oppressed and left out.
Aw.
Oh, I'm too normal.
But I chose to go with the robot arm.
Well, it's referring to the people other than you, Phil, who are jealous of your
But
shiny
then I would
robot
be the
arm.
one who's ill. It doesn't make sense.
Phil doesn't understand. They're jelly.
Yeah,
Phil.
they're jelly.
Yeah,
I don't
so they're
understand why they're
But
jelly.
he doesn't understand why they're jelly. See, he is a cyborg.
There you go.
So speaking of jelly, you're building a weapon. Did you build a machine gun, a laser cannon, or an acid trebuchet?
Oh, man, acid trebuchet. I'm intrigued.
Yeah,
Although
I think
I
I
wonder
have to
why-
agree.
I'm wondering why the laser cannon isn't on both. Like, why would you go to a new alien planet and
Not
stick
bring
with
laser cannons.
Yeah, I mean, why would you stick with the machine gun when obviously you built GDRs back home that had laser cannons?
Are
I guess
laser
the purity
cannons
answer is
actually
we're
more
going to do
effective?
things the old-fashioned way.
At least with physical bullets, it's probably a lot harder to stop them, whereas, you could get used to lasers, you could shield them very easily. Whereas if you have bullets,
Get
But
my
how are you going to
lasers.
shield the acid? If I can
Like,
see
don't
more
mind
from
me.
aliens and throw their acid at you, you're in trouble.
I've
Don't
yet to
mind
meet
me,
a person that can
the lasers.
outsmart bullets.
I think the last one is trying to tease Alpha Centauri fans, though, because it says, you're seeking eternal life. Do you accept death, put brain in jar, or become one with planet?
Crew planet.
Brain in jar.
Planet? Oh, careful, careful.
Brain in jar. Do go Fallout New Vegas.
Ah.
Recorded for episode 198 with Dan Q, Makalua, the Me and Team, exists, and warning you too.
Gentleman who's playing Civ as a kind of a performance art at the 2014 Whitney Biennial, which is a museum, Manhattan. So he plays this game 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, and he's doing this for over a month. Wraps up on May 25th. And the entitlement here, the part of the script is Civilization is one of the most addictive and longest-running game franchises of all time. In it, the player rules a civilization, builds an empire, and competes with other civilizations. In 1996, this is how long Civ's been going, Computer and Gaming World named it the best video game of all time and compared it to crack. I said, you've got to be kidding. Somebody's actually doing this as performance art. And there's a picture. It was probably the most annoying websites I've ever seen because it keeps flashing all over the place. It's terrible.
It's too fast.
There's this guy sitting beside a computer screen in this vacant floor by this concrete pillar staring at his screen. And he looks like any person that plays Civ for, more than 7 hours a day.
What are you trying to say?
Well, he's kind of pale-faced, ugly-looking, and he's just...
What you're saying is he has a face for Civ.
Yes, but you have to read this and he apparently has kids comes by and he says, was he playing a game? And he says, yeah. Parents like, see, honey, he's doing this for fun and for art. And they say, so you're playing videos? And he's like, yeah. So I don't understand how this can be artistic, but nevertheless, he's having a good time. And more than anything, it gives him the opportunity to talk about civilization. It's like an art pyramid. I do a lot of military moves in this game. It's like maybe I'm storming the castle. The art world, it's like I'm the moat just before the entrance and I'm trying to break in. Anyway, if you ever thought you were nuts playing Civ for more than a few hours every night, you can look at this guy and go, I'm nothing as bad as this guy. I think there was one comment about 7.5 hours a day. That's nothing.
Does he get paid for this?
Yeah, if you play games professionally, 7.5 hours a day really is nothing.
He's not getting paid for this, I don't think. But it doesn't say whether he is or he isn't. He's getting his name known.
Yeah.
By that very nature, then that can be, hey, I know who you are because you played Civ. And then you can use that as a segue to, by the way, I'm an artist and here is some work to get attention. Lots of artists, period, right? And it's a difficult field to make a living in. So, hey, he's trying to get attention and he succeeded in getting attention.
We're talking about him.
The article ends, it's really simple, Leclerc says. His name's Diego Leclerc. He's a few parameters. I randomize everything. I don't answer my phone. And I only play at the highest difficulty. Art is easy. Civilization is difficult.
If he played for that long and didn't play on DD, yikes.
Well, he could have gone for a marathon epic.
Titus says in the response, this just screams desperation, at least for the museum. I'll stick to my cultural museums and whatnot. This just seems boring. In one respect, I understand that. I love playing golf. I do not want to watch people playing golf. It is boring. But then again, if you're playing Civilization, it depends. Like, are you just playing and not saying out loud what's going on? Are you not reacting? Do you not have any emotion to what it is that you're doing? Because that's what's interesting to watch.
Well, if you actually go to the website and look at this guy, it looks like he's completely emotionless.
Oh, well, that's...
Like I said,
because they're taking his picture at that point. He's like, don't make a dumb face. Don't make a dumb face.
Kurogi Naskari says, since when is watching someone else play video games art? You are not the art. He is the art for playing the game. You would be someone watching someone creating art in the moment.
I was going to say, don't tell you two that.
I do like Jamaican Me Crazy. That's the username. I love it. The fact that it was a pun made all the more reason I was going to mention what this person said. I'm going to be doing a performance art piece soon myself. It's called Guy Eats Pringles and Reads Kotaku. I won't spoil the surprise and tell you what it consists of, though. Okay.
Yeah, that's making me hungry.
I won't be specific because then I'll have like art critics telling me I'm an uncultured slob. But there are some other things that pass off as art. And I'm like, if that can be considered art, then I think playing Civilization can be considered art. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, it also raises the, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I first started playing Civ, it is extremely addictive. I mean, I remember playing for 12 hours and it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, oh crap, I got to get up to work in 2 hours and feeling like crap for the next 12 hours working because I was up all night playing a game and try to explain that to people. And it's hard to explain it for people that don't play that kind of a game. I can understand people losing reality. I can't imagine what this guy is like after a month of playing Civilization for 7-8 hours every day, 5 days.
He's really good at holding a conversation.
Maybe I need to do that to become a better player because...
Just depends on the person. I wouldn't read into that too much. I think the bigger question is what prompted him to make the choice in the first place to do it, rather than what impact it has on him now that he has done it.
I don't think it's a choice. I think it's a lifestyle now.
He does speak to that a little bit. Since I moved to New York, I haven't really made any art. I play a lot of Civilization. I got asked to be in the biennial, and what am I going to do? Make some shit? No, I'm going to transform the activity of the last year and a half. He's like, running away from life, relationships, productivity. I wanted to put this in my art and turn it into a practice. It had to be this game.
Okay, then.
Fair enough.
Well, perhaps he's a true artist after all. There you go. He is certainly portraying something.
Yes.
I'm way too left brain for that.
The piece is bluntly titled, Me Playing Civilization.
For an artist, that doesn't seem very creative.
No, it's not.
No, this is so creative, he doesn't have to give it a creative title.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the activity, not the title now, people. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You know, it made me think, I was reading this article, I'm probably one of the few people who's actually been fired from a job when I was playing Civilization.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. I was working as a developer for a company out of California, and I was able to work from home, and I knew the job was ending anyway, and I was playing a Diplo game, and I actually had to sign on and play my turn, and it's been going on for, I think, almost a year at that point, and it was early in the morning, so I didn't usually get phone calls at 9 o'clock my time, which was 6 o'clock, of course, California time, so the phone rang, and I'd known that it was coming, so I actually got fired while I was playing a turn of Brave New World. So anyway, that's my claim to fame.
Call in today. In North America, the number is 301-637-7659. That's 301-637-POLY.
In Europe, 44121-288-7659. That's 44121-288-POLY.
The only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about.
For more information on PolyCast,
Our sibling shows Modcast, Revcast, and Turncast,
or about PolyCast in general,
log on to the series' official website at thepolycast.net.
How do you actually get in the melee unit in? Good luck with that.
What?
Get a melee unit in. Good luck with that.
Cataphract.
Shut up.
Well, this escalated quickly.
No, you.
But Magic hasn't said the usual conversation ender.
Because.
No, not that one. Starts with your.
Imagine, can you just say it? Mackie's been deprived. You've been away from the show. She's forgetting your voice. So you have to say this expression so she knows it's truly you and you are in fact not a dingo.
That's right.
The imposter wouldn't know this phrase, clearly. Authenticate.
Your mom?
It didn't sound too certain. Might be a dingo after all.
Beware.
I don't know, this whole discussion is drawing me back to, I think it was a phrase from Phil. It may become the episode title. PolyCast episode 199, Trolling or Just a Dingo? It's pretty random, even for PolyCast.
I don't know. I think about the number 199 and I think that definitely trolls a lot of people who are expecting, a nice big round number.
What, 200?
Maybe.
Oh. Why is it? Why? Because 199 comes after 200. Or 190. Yeah, 199 comes
Yeah,
We're
but
down now.
people are probably going to get impatient. They just want that big number.
So let's talk about how Magin did in math. And
That's which way you're going. If you're going down.
Are we
PolyCast.
creating PolyCast lore here?
Welcome to your new
it's harder to get
civilization.
to.
The citizen of this new society, you will be ruled by an immortal god king with complete control over every aspect of your life and the entire civilization. Also, you will be more or less in a state of constant warfare with the rest of the world. Building anything takes decades upon decades. If you're one of the unfortunate few who's drafted into the war effort, you may very well end up being a spearman or a horseback rider stuck battling a freaking tank. So yes, it sucks to be the citizens in our civilizations.
yeah, and Civilization 5 was mentioned first.
Yeah, I mean,
Civ, top of the list.
Anyways, this has been episode 199. I imagine finally returned from the Aussie lands thinking, gotta get more coffee off of Mackie.
Oh, and I think people might be wondering why you sound different. That would be your Aussie tan, right? That's the Aussie tan coming through in the...
No, I thought that was his headset being a little derp.
The tan is audible.
The tan is audible. Yes, I have been highly tanned.
And in some cases, more than tanned.
Yeah. I was joined today by Macalua.
Time for more caffeine. Yep. I'll send you some.
Tasty. Dan Quick.
Don't ask if PolyCast is worth bothering with.
Okay. Weirdo. The main team.
I will join in the Mackie versus Dan Q War of Honor.
Coalitions. And first, we were joined today by the Christie.
I'm just going to go back to bed now, even though it's like 10 to 7.
See ya, everybody.
Peace.
Oh, no Magin or Mackie.
I think they're busy poking. Or, sorry, pokeling.
Heyo.
That might make a blooper
I
reel.
was about to say that. Are you already getting bloopers from this? Yeah, at least you're the fuck. Already tripping over words. Speaking of attacking people, so third email. Was that a good segue, Dan?
Well, it was till you asked
Yeah.
the question, and then
6 is a good one.
Well, let's get through 5 first. So apart from Earth itself...
you know what? I'm just happy that Magin knew that 5 came before 6, even though he thought 2.
Even though he earlier thought.
Handle the numbers as long as they're not too big.
of like the War Chariot, and then I haven't played Egypt in ages, so I don't know how the War Chariot holds up these days.
Not as good as Civ 4 War Chariot.
I was about to say, as a Civ 4 player as well, Egypt's War Chariots and Civ 5, I wouldn't even talk about them.
They don't compare. They pale in comparison.
They sure do.
What Egypt could do to you in Civ 4.
They've been left in the Egyptian sun too long, flaking and drying out.
That's lovely.
And no doubt if Slow was listening to this answer right now, he'd be like, how did my question get us talking about achievements in the game? Well, anything is possible on this show.
Exactly.
Anything.
Record date May 10th, 2014. Civilization 4, 5, and Beyond Earth sound clips copyright Take-Two Interactive. Copyright Civilized Communication at civcom.net.